Okay. Okay, so let's start. You know, Oliver Wang has joined us from Moxa. I don't have a huge bio for Oliver because he is pinch hitting. One of our panelists, Alicia from ABB, was unable to make it. She's stranded in Cleveland. There's no better place to be stranded in Cleveland. So I would like to personally thank Oliver for really taking one for the team here coming up, and he's going to impart some great wisdom. One of the things I like to do, besides the bios, I want to just relay one piece of personal information. And I know that Oliver tells me on the weekends he likes to relax and Netflix binge, I think is what it is.
I'm kind of control.
Gotcha. Excellent. So again, thanks to Oliver for participating. I think he's really going to enjoy the panel as well as all of you. Second of all, next on our panel is Jeff Kosiorek. Jeff, I consider Jeff a personal friend. We've worked together for several years. And while you guys read the bio, and I'll actually go into that, one of the things I want to tell you about Jeff, one of the personal anecdotes about Jeff is he's great at finding a hidden gem of a restaurant, something that you don't know is going to be fantastic. It looks like he is something in a mall, something out of town. You ask him, had you lived here before? No, but you always do very well. So if you're ever out with Jeff, make him take you out. So this was really good. But Jeff is Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for ATS, Advanced Technology Services, which is a global leader in factory maintenance, industrial parts, and IT services. He is responsible for conceptualizing all marketing strategies and activities and serves as a strategic advisor to the business in developing and implementing marketing communication programs aimed at business growth. Jeff has been there for 5 months now, so it's a new position. He is not new, obviously, to the marketing industry, and I think he's going to impart a lot of wisdom for everybody here. So thank you, Jeff, for being here. Next, we've got some engineers. I promised that we'd talk to some. We've got Don Freeston from Patrick Engineering. Don has started off 6 years in the military, working on reactors and submarines in the U.S. Navy. So, Don, yeah, that's unbelievable. But by the way, Don, thank you very much. That's awesome. Second of all, he's earned his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Southern Illinois. Don is currently group leader at Patrick Engineering in Lab, where he's in charge of the overall day-to-day business operations of Patrick's MEP team. He manages a team of engineers and administrative personnel, directs office activities, and is responsible for personal project assignments, deadlines, and additionally he manages the MEP design projects. He writes project proposals in response to requests for proposals from clients and leads the business development efforts in his team. So again, thanks Don for being here. We really appreciate that. One of the personal anecdotes that I like to bring up about Don here is, and again, some of these guys we've had a chance to get together with Don. I talked to him on the phone. He's an avid outdoorsman and a huge Cubs fan. So good luck this year. Josh Greene is here from JENSEN HUGHES. Josh, before I get into the bio, he gave me a little fill in here. He is a budding woodworker. So I think he's going to be budding. Okay. Yeah. But where he's not budding is he's vice president with JENSEN HUGHES and is responsible for the application of new technology and innovation in support of the company's service offerings. He specializes in practical application of fire protection principles in support of unique and creative design initiatives. He's a registered PE in the state of Illinois and has over 17 years of experience in the fire protection industry. And he's also a member of Consulting Specifying Engineers Editorial Advisory Board. So thanks, Josh, for being here as well. We appreciate that. Bill Kosik. Had a chance to have lunch with Bill several months ago. Bill is a distinguished technologist at HP Data Center Facilities Consulting. He's responsible for execution of project work, training, and mentoring of internal engineering and consulting teams, research and analysis of topics related to data center energy use, and industry presentations and writing assignments. Bill is also a member of our EAB team, so thanks, Bill, for being here as well. One thing that Bill likes to do on the weekends is antiquing. So, you know, it's, we've got an entire group up here. It's wonderful. One of the things that we'd like to start off with is talking about, as a whole, some of the information that was presented throughout the day. My idea here is that we're going to get perspective from the engineers who we plan to market to and are marketing to, as well as some success stories and anecdotes from our manufacturing representatives on the team here. So one of the things I'd like to do is start off from the engineer's perspective, and why don't we start with you, Don? What research finding did you find the most relevant today? I know that when you went through some of this earlier, you had a couple great quotes for me. One of them was, "I can't believe you guys do this much research on engineers." Was one of them.
Yeah, boy, this is an amazing event. I can't believe that so much time and effort is spent to kind of get into our heads, the engineers' complex heads, I guess. And so, my kudos to everybody here. The one thing that I take away is the conversation about left brain versus right brain. I think most people think of engineers, they think left brain people. They think about their analytical skills, their ability to solve problems and stuff. But really, you can't solve those problems without the ability to think outside the box. That right brain. Thinking about using your creative, holistic thinking skills to think outside the box to develop a solution, for our customers. So that's one thing that you got out of this conversation.
And Josh, from your perspective, it's the same thing. You both said the same thing. I can't believe you guys do this research on all of this.
I always think that engineers are pretty simple people at the end of the day. We're not that hard to decipher. There's no real magic key, I don't think. Patrick's research presentation was fairly spot on if you look at it. We want the information to be logical, we want the information to be true, and we want the information to be specific. If we can get that, then we're pretty good to go. Blogs, I think just about every presenter said at some point that blogs were fairly low on the totem pole, and they are, because blogs are opinion-based items or sales-based items for the most part. I subscribe to a lot of them. I subscribe to LinkedIn for a lot. I get information on what's going on, but I don't use that as anything for my business. You don't know where that content is coming from or who's putting it out there or for what reason. Engineers are logical folks. We just like to have the information that we need to do our job correctly. If you can get that out onto your sites or when you're speaking to us, whatever way that you're speaking to us, whether it's in written form or whatever, make sure it's logical and make sure that it hits us where we live. It gives us the information that we need to do our job. In order to do that, you need to know what our job is ahead of time. So.
Jeff, Pat Lynch had mentioned about, by the time they reach out to a manufacturer, they've gone through nearly 40% of the process. We heard some other percentages earlier. Do you find that to be the case? And as Josh was saying, how do you optimize by the time the engineer does reach out to ATS for information on products and services?
Sure. Yeah, I thought that was a very relevant statistic. And marketing folks, you probably know, that was for engineering crowd, and for some it's even higher, closer to 50%. So by that time, people have already made the association with, if they need your brand, they've probably been to your website, they've Googled, they've done all, right? So the buying decision could be made. At this point, if you ever go through sales training and you hear the term column fodder, anybody familiar with that term? It's basically when somebody's made up their mind that they need to talk to another couple vendors to kind of throw in the pool to make their research look legit, right? So they might have already talked to somebody, they have a good feeling, but I'm just gonna go look for some other stuff. You spend a lot of time being column fodder, you're just spinning your wheels, right? So it's very important up front that top 50%, those communications vehicles that you're communicating with the engineering community, you're hitting them spot on. So I think that was one thing I took away from that. The other thing, Matt, probably the biggest thing for me was that I think it was 60 to 70%, Pat, tell me if I'm lying, of engineers said that they would give basic contact information to get a credible asset or something that was to the point, analytical, something that could help them along their buyer's journey. And that's pretty big, because usually in marketing there's two camps. It's the camp that says, you got to have a registration page, make them give their information for everything. And then you've got the folks that say, give it all away for free, and if they're interested, they're going to come back to you, because now they know you're a trusted resource. So it's kind of an interesting stat for me as a marketer to take away.
Oliver, from your perspective, how does that ring true with some of those stats that came out regarding?
Absolutely rings true. We're still, as a manufacturer, still just getting started in our ability to track our leads' behavior, because you have the different platforms that don't necessarily talk to each other. But to the extent that we can track the behavior, we're definitely finding that by the time they reach out to us or one of our channel partners, they've already done a lot of the research. They've already searched Google, they've already seen a print ad, they've already sort of filtered down to us by the time they actually ask for our input. And so we had a couple of instances where we saw that that was the case, and are still trying to figure out how we, I guess, coordinate our marketing message to the last presenter's point of integrated marketing, so that at any touch point, they're getting the same message about us as a manufacturer. So definitely rings true, and we're definitely trying to pivot towards that reality.
Okay, excellent. And Bill, I know you had some stuff going on earlier today, and we're unable to make it. But one of the topics that came up when we were talking about bright green marketing was fear of failure for an engineer. It's not an option. Is that something that you live with on a day-to-day basis? And if so, how do you make sure that you do not fail on a project?
We rely on our vendors.
Yes. Great answer.
If it fails, they get the blame. No, seriously, I think, fear of failure, maybe a different way to look at it is, just having, and this probably crosses all professions, kind of a very high standard. And in the engineering, especially, what we do, mechanical, electrical, for data centers, the stakes are pretty high. So if there is a failure, so to speak, whether it's in the design or the implementation, we could have some problems. So I think it's just a matter of raising the bar and making sure that the teams are on board. But one of the things I wanted to kind of disagree with was the kind of the approach of the vendor. I mean, we really need to, and usually do, bring the vendors in almost day one, especially on really fast track projects. And it's not. I mean, depending on where we're at in the world, we need to develop a relationship with them, because usually we'll work for one customer, and then that customer will build 4 more data centers in Eastern Europe or South America or something. So it's important to build that level of trust and not look at it as a one-off deal. So that's something that I think, depending on the type of project, and I did commercial MEP stuff in my balance of my career, so I understand how that works. In a kind of a typical, where you need, especially you need to go out to bid, like in a public project like that, it's a different set of rules. But my message would be, getting a vendor as more of a partner and building that relationship, so we both can benefit. Synergy thing, both can benefit from that.
Okay, Jeff, building that relationship with the engineer as a partner, however you call it, whether it's integrated design process or however. But Dan Starcenic brought up key personas. Have you gone through that process yourself? Are there unwritten personas, and during that process of building the trust, are there certain areas or steps that you take to make sure that someone like Bill can come back to you with additional projects?
There is. So I think what you need to do in that instance is you have to look inside before you look outside. And Dan showed a pretty good methodology for doing that. I think when you look at yourself, I'll give you an example, and this is just recent, right? I've been in my new job for 6 months. So the organization I'm with now had a really fantastic marketing communications organization, getting in the LA Times and Washington Post and et cetera. But we're struggling in some areas, and one of those areas was business intelligence, right? And those areas was product marketing and inside sales. So you've got to kind of pull that all together. And I think the best way to do that, and it was interesting because when I started, I go through a value proposition workshop with the team. And you bring all the relevant folks who are part of this, whatever it is you might be marketing, right? Your service group or your products group. And you spend about 3 or 4 hours going through kind of a workshop. And you draw out of them what are the value propositions that are important to the customer, in this case the engineers, right? And it's kind of different because if you're trying to sell a low margin service versus a high end product, your value propositions are very different. So it's not one size fits all. So you gotta look inside before you look outside. So that would be the inside view. The outside view is where kind of the inside sales and marketing communications disciplines come in. So inside sales, qualifying leads, attending the trade shows, the events, and all the great internal marketing communications tactics that we saw in the presentation. Then you can start your targeting, but at least you're going with a message and you know that it's probably going to hit because you've got all your stakeholders together.
You know, Josh, you mentioned engineers as a whole are fairly simple, I think was your quote just a second ago. Obviously, that's not the case. I think the entire crowd feels like we're trying to learn in terms of exactly how you think. Do you have any examples of, during that process, you were contacted by a manufacturer at the right place at the right time, and what was that encounter?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a specific example. We do a lot of work. We do a lot of fire alarm work. We do a lot of sprinkler work, and fire alarm manufacturers are notorious for wanting to talk to us on a day-to-day basis. And we've had some very good relationships with them over time. With that comes the ability to know when our project work is coming up and when certain new things are starting. And it goes back to trying to get at the beginning of our process to get a manufacturer or a vendor involved. Those that come to us often, some have even gone to the point of doing a monthly educational session with us and giving us one point of contact that we can always talk to. And having that person gives them a bit of a leg up with us just because we're in constant communication with them and they know what's coming up. They can ask us, hey, this project's coming on the market, are you working on that? Yes. Well, you know, is there something that we can do to help you with your project going forward? And the answer is typically yes, with the caveat of we're going to look at all sorts of different people. It's not a, gee, you're the first person in line, so congratulations, you've got that project and you're moving forward. But it does put you in a good position to know what's coming down the pipe and cater your message to us a little bit. The value proposition, the value statement is very important to us. What value can you bring to us? What are you bringing to the table that's going to make our job a little bit easier? And if you're upfront and you know and you've developed a trust with us over time, it's going to help. We always go back to people that we trust first because it's simpler for us to do it to a certain extent, and we know that the value is going to be there for us. It doesn't mean that we don't look for other people. It doesn't mean that if you lost a project at some point with us, we're not going to come back to you the next time. But the value statement is very important. It's important to have a consistent relationship with us. I mean, Rich said that at the end of his integrated marketing presentation today. Be consistent. Always be in front of us. Don't hound us, but continue your message, whether it's phone calls or whatever. Keep in front of us that we remember that you're there and ask us how our projects are.
Excellent, thanks. So Don, this leads me down the path. You were talking about websites and how your quote to me. So we had some calls before we got together on the panel. Don, your quote was, "We're not experts on any manufacturer's equipment, so we want as much information as quick as possible." Most likely you're starting off with their website, you had mentioned. Give me some examples where you've had success finding exactly what you're looking for quickly in order to get through the decision-making process.
Sure. So, one of the things that, one of the challenges that we face, especially, I'd say within the last 5 years, is, our customers, the building developers, builders, architects, they need the information. They need more information. They need that information at a less expense, and they need that quicker. So our challenge is to learn that information as quick as possible. Now, we are experts on how to build buildings, but we're not experts on the products that go inside the building, say the lighting, the panels, motor control centers, etc. That's where we're relying a lot on the vendors to provide us that information, as quick as possible. We're constantly searching for ways to be more efficient because it's become so competitive. So if we can find that information quicker on the websites, that's just going to help us out. It's going to help our customers out. There are some challenging websites out there to maneuver, to navigate. In those cases, a lot of times, there's just too much content on one page. There's just too much information. One of the things that I think it was in Pat's discussion earlier about people who are over 40, engineers over 40. I'm just a tad over 40. I'm not that old, but one thing that really technology has developed so quickly, especially within the last 10 years or so. And, but there are the engineers over 40 that, I personally, I like to look at the catalogs, instead of the websites, and for me personally, I think it, when a website more resembles the catalog structure, it helps me out. So, there are specific vendors or suppliers out there that do a good job, kind of catering to I guess, the older engineers. I don't know, not older engineers, but,
I think Bill just
I don't know, but for me, that's what works for me, I guess.
Excellent. Well, so Oliver, obviously, research came up several times throughout today's presentation, and ending just recently with, you got to do the research today to incorporate the 3 C's. We just heard that some people do prefer to look at the catalogs. What type of research is Moxa doing out there of the engineers, of your customer, to make sure you're delivering content in the right format?
That's a really good question, really interesting question. We are in the process of deploying a marketing automation platform. Marketo. Actually, it's been a 1-year process, and a lot of presentations that talked about marketing automation, that talked about the research, that talked about the trends and the different engineers, definitely rang true for us. And so part of our research process is just putting into place platforms that allow us to measure the performance of the different media that we work with, whether it's print literature, whether it's PDFs, whether it's quotes off the website, whether it's the white papers. And then comparing them in a way that gives us some sort of information as to, are we getting click-throughs? Are they converting into actual leads? Are the leads converting to actual business? We're still very, very much in the baby steps of trying to consolidate that information, because we do get a lot of the salespeople saying, well, we absolutely must have this piece of literature. And then you talk to another salesperson in another region and say, oh, actually, we like this piece of literature, but it has to have this logo on it in this particular place. Right. And so when Rich was talking about you can't listen to your salespeople, that was very interesting for us, because that's still our first step into getting some data when we don't have the funds necessarily to fund a full-on market research, third-party qualified data gathering project.
So did you have a chance to connect with Corinne a little bit about your...
Not yet, but I look forward to possibly talking with him later. Yeah.
So along those lines of discussion, working with sales or not working with sales, depending on how you want to, like Dan had mentioned, making sure that the definitions of leads or vernacular was accurate. How does that work for both Moxa and ATS in terms of providing real leads after a campaign? And this is a leading question, because then I want to ask all 3 of our engineers about when they're contacted by sales.
Would you like to go first? I'll take it first.
Okay.
So I guess 2 things. Number 1 thing you have to do is involve your stakeholders early. So the first thing that I did when I got to ATS was I set up meetings with our sales directors. We had 3 sales directors, 1 for each one of our lines of business. Because that's really the bloodline, right? I can set up meetings with technology folks and marketing team members, executives, etc. But these are the guys who are managing the sales teams. Their success is my success is the company's success. So those are the first people that I involved when I started to walk through this. I think that's critical. Involve them early. I think that's key. The second thing that we did was, outside of going through these value propositions workshops, is we did a lot on storytelling, how to tell a good story. And I had the benefit of getting introduced to a gentleman by the name of Bill Hoopter several years ago. Runs an outfit called Home the Room. Masters is telling people how to tell a story. So throughout my career, I've used him quite frequently. Even last year, I sit on the board of directors for a communications association called the Communication Leadership Exchange. And that was the #1 thing our membership wanted to do, is how do we tell the story? How do we tell the story to our customers, our prospects, the engineering community? So we had Bill and his team come in and actually ran a general session on how to tell a story. And it's, you know, being truthful, understanding the position of who your customer's in, but how to connect on that emotional level. Don't just throw statistics and the cognitive side, although that's important. You gotta have that other side too.
That sounds good, and again, it speaks right to Dane's discussion. You know, facts, what do you say, facts tell, stories sell. So, Oliver, from your perspective as well, are you trying to touch that emotional bandwidth?
For the emotional messaging of our, I guess, marketing material, that's something that we're starting to do. We did a workshop a couple years back to develop a branding message for our company, Moxa. And we're starting to deploy that message in various formats and using various methodologies for delivering that message. But it's still, again, very much in the baby steps in terms of developing a slogan and then having that slogan appear. But then what are the other materials that support that concept? That's still something that we're very much in the process of trying to develop.
Thank you. So Bill, I know you work out of the house and out of the local library on a regular basis. We're talking about how to appeal to your emotions from a manufacturer standpoint. Give us some realistic viewpoint of where you have had both the right brain and left brain connected when it comes to facts and emotion regarding a specific product.
Yeah, sure. You know, as you mentioned, I work pretty much wherever I can, down here in our office or at home or Barcelona or wherever I am. So I just want to make a comment about the print literature versus the digital literature. But if you look in that corner there, you'll see my office. It's a little black bag about this big. So there's no room for print literature there, let me tell you. So everything is digital. It's got to be digital because they can access that from anywhere. So anyway, back to your question. I think as an engineer, surely there's, at least for me personally, it's really important to have kind of access and transparency to data or equipment selection, or even early on for like proof of concept stuff before the project is even real. So it's a kind of a quick in and out. I don't have to worry about getting a sales rep involved. Now certainly I can't do anything without the sales rep down the road. So I mean they're going to have to appear at some point. So or if I can't get to it, I move on. I mean I don't have time for that, or So kind of the ones and the zeros and kind of the black and white stuff. Now the sexy side, if you just want to look at it that way, is innovation, new product innovation. Is the manufacturer kind of listening to the market, not only the customer, in this case me, but also my customer and not my customer's customer and on up the chain, and developing new products, innovation that are from an engineering standpoint, they make a lot of sense. I can kind of back them from a theoretical standpoint, but also they're new. We're looking at expanding the horizon in terms of how we do things in the data center world. Certainly, new products and innovation is incredibly important to do that. So it's kind of pragmatic day-to-day stuff, but it's also show me the future. Let's see where you're going. How are you going to solve the problem? How are you going to do it less expensive? How are you going to save energy? All that kind of stuff.
So along those lines, Don, timely follow-up. We talked about marketing automation. So you're looking at behind the curtain and what some of the marketers and manufacturers are up to regarding timely information while you're going through that process, the search process, and ultimately being contacted by a sales team member or representative from the company. Tell me a little bit about where you had that timely representation or content delivered to you, and do you know if it was from a marketing automation tool, or you just know that you got it at the right point in time?
I would say for the most part, it's us reaching out. You know, by the time we reach that point in the product selection process, you know, usually we've done a lot of homework. You know, we're out there, we're looking at the search engines, we're looking at Google or whatever, trying to figure out, you know, which products, you know, we want to even, you know, look at. You know, we're trying to learn a little bit more information about what our customers need for their project. You know, and so you know, after some considerable research, you know, we're looking at then we're looking directly at some websites. You know, a handful of websites of some potential suppliers, and you know, usually by the time we've kind of developed our own little short list for the project, that's about the time we're reaching out to the vendors and we're expecting a lot of information. But by that time, you know, we're getting pretty far into the process, and again, time is money. You know, we need a pretty quick response from the vendors, especially when, you know, we reach out to them. We're hoping that they follow up, you know, extremely quick. You know, usually by that time there's like I said, a short list of about 3 or 4 suppliers. You know, and by that time all of the suppliers are fairly equally qualified and equally priced. You know, so really it's the vendor that's going to reach back out and do their due diligence and make sure that, you know, that we have all the information that we need to convince our customers that, you know, they're going to purchase the right product. You know, they're the ones that are really going to get specified.
Excellent. Josh, you know, Bill mentioned getting to the sexy side of the product after you do the research on some of the specific numbers and data. Where have you found, for example, on a website? You know, we had Steve talking about how to simplify a website, make it easier to use. How do you get that emotional tie-in, if you will, when you're doing research on a manufacturer's website?
The best thing I personally get is if I can tie something that I'm looking at back to a project that has already been done, or if there is an application that I'm looking at and I can read a white paper, I can read a case study, I can look at it and say, okay, I'm looking for, I'll use the data center, you know, we need this for the data center, we're looking at these products, let's see what was used before. And I'll start looking at websites to see what's out there, case studies, white papers, just to make sure that the application is there. We want to know that we're not setting the bar here with your product and it's never been used there before. That's a little bit of a touchy area for us engineers, and it probably goes back a little bit to that failure thing. There are consequences when we fail on a project. In some cases, some very large consequences as a result of it. So we like to be comfortable when we're specifying something that the product that we're specifying has already been tested, used, applied, and we'll go so far, I'm not going to lie to you, we'll go so far as to check into those case studies that are on your website. So if you put a case study up there that just got built or that really didn't go so well, but it looks zoomy on your web page, and I call Jones Lang LaSalle or someone like that and say, hey, how's this going in the field? And they tell me it's terrible, that's bad. Okay? That's bad, and that's about as simple as I can say.
Just so we're clear.
So that's the emotional side for us. We definitely put a lot into a lot of research, a lot of information into doing things right the first time, because getting it right the second time really doesn't help us too much. So it's very emotional for us on that side to have the trust that something is going to happen the way that we expect it to.
Great, thank you. You know, from the integrated marketing perspective, Rich's last presentation, Jeff, I know in your past life you had relied a lot on research, but then from research of your clients, you were able to build out multiple touch points. Tell us a little bit about where you thought you had some success from that area, and how it can be applied elsewhere.
Sure. Probably 2 examples. So before ATS, I worked for Siemens for about 7 years. I used to run marketing and communications for the Building Technologies division up in Buffalo Grove. So Matt made reference, we've met each other many times in this process. So back about 6 or 7 years ago, I started working with CFE and started sponsoring some research. And we get very particular in the pieces of research that we would sponsor, and it would be targeted at the engineering community. So we started this turnkey project, and we did it once, and it went pretty well. Let's do another one. So we did a second one, a third one, a fourth one. We found there was a niche here because folks wanted to hear from a solution provider, but maybe had a little behind it, another trusted resource like CFE. So we found that to be a great turnkey project and kind of kept it going. More recent example, when you look at the past year or so, we looked at marketing automation systems out there. HubSpot was one of them, so we use HubSpot connected to Salesforce.com. Kind of kludgy right now, we're going through a CRM optimization, but I'll tell you what it allowed us to track, so even in its basic elements. So for example, last summer, ATS was a sponsor of the Industry Week Best Plants Conference. If you folks are familiar with that manufacturing plant environment. We had met somebody there from a manufacturer up in Milwaukee. We had followed up with them, kept them nurturing, but nothing rose higher than just kind of the first meeting. Then this person came to one of our customer events. Every fall we have these events called density events, and we go to a customer who will let us bring some prospects in and do kind of a tour and see us in action. Then that person wanted to talk. Then they wanted to engage with a sales rep. That job just closed about 2 weeks ago for $1.6 million. So the sales cycle went from last summer to about a January contract close for $1.6 million. So before that, could we have been able to make that connection that we had these different touch points? Probably not. And guess what? The sales cycle was shortened by at least 6 or 8 months in that process because we were able to track them and make sure we touched them at the right time. It's kind of a more recent example, but it shows how important it is. Somebody from 6 or 8 months ago can always come up and all of a sudden you've got a contract.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Oliver, we're talking about some of the integrated marketing. Pat had alluded to some of the past research we've done, just in the last year and a half. Engineers love lunch and learns. I'll tell you, I've got a couple of them up here that say, one of the questions we always ask of our subscribers and our editorial advisory board members is it hard or easy for someone from a manufacturer to get in and see? What is the ultimate goal when you're putting together your integrated marketing program? Is it ultimately to get to a lunch and learn position, or are there multiple, I'm assuming there's multiple endpoints that you're looking for, but what's the pinnacle from the Moxa standpoint?
Well, I think because of our particular niche, which involves, for a lot of people in the traditional automation, newer technology, networking, communications, which tends to be outside of the comfort zone of people who are used to working with the robotics, the machinery, the CNC machines, and so on and so forth. We definitely want the right person to engage with our company representative at the right time to provide guidance as to which product, which set of solutions is going to best fit their particular project, and maybe help them ask questions they might not have considered in terms of, well, don't just buy this one product, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. There may be actually another product that, even though this product our marketing team may look really awesome for your particular needs and for your future growth, you might actually consider a different product that didn't get as much marketing communication love. So basically just to find the right person to connect them at the right time to a person who can guide them to success in the project so that they don't purchase the wrong.
Okay, so some of these questions have been off script already, sorry guys. But I'm gonna go way off script. For the engineers, Bill, what should the manufacturers be doing? How are they gonna get your attention as we go forward? I know you're everything's digital with you, but if they really want to get your attention on a new product, new technology, what are you looking for?
Well, again, personally, it has to immediately scream that it's a valid kind of engineering premise. Okay, there can't be any frosting on it or kind of ambiguity or hard to read, meaning they can't get to where it's coming from or how it was developed or what's the point. It has to cut right to the chase. That'll immediately signal that there is, the manufacturer's not afraid of anything. They're gonna, open kimono. They're gonna do it. They're gonna show, what it's up. Figuratively, they're gonna show, what they have in terms of their equipment or whatever it is, and you know, there's going to be no ambiguity again, because that's what's going to get my attention. Because if I, you know, I'm not suggesting that manufacturers that don't use that technique are deceitful. That's certainly not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is certain manufacturers tend to be just a little more open and accessible and easy to get to the stuff. So again, I can take it for my research, or I can take it and throw it up the ladder to my client, or however I want to use it. But if I can't get to it, and I can't validate it, I personally can't say this does what it says it does, it's not going to get past me. I mean, it's not an ego thing. It's just I gotta understand it. If I don't, it doesn't go anywhere.
So it's openness and accessibility for the content you're looking for. So,
absolutely.
Josh, you? Are they knocking on the door? What do you want them to do?
Teach us. If you've got something new that we don't know about, or that you think is important to our business, come in and teach us about it. We like new stuff. We like being able to apply stuff. It helps us to be on the cutting edge of things also. And we can't follow everybody's products all the time. So if you have something, come in and say, look, we have this new thing we want to show you. If you've got an application for it already that you've used it for, even better. But come in and teach us what's going on with it. Tell us what it's about. Tell us how you've tested it or how you've validated it. But there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll always welcome someone coming in and giving us more knowledge. We're always knowledge-starved individuals in general. So teaching is probably the best way to do it.
Great. Don, you know, I know we talked, and you love it when you are visited by a manufacturer. Is it easy, hard for them to get in the door before that process?
No, not at all. It's not hard at all. We, like you said, we do like lunch and learns. You know, we like to be fed. But
doesn't?
You know, I mean, the key to a lunch and learn is you know, I mean, billable hours. You know, I mean, usually 8 through 12 and 1 through 5. You know, we need to be billable. You know, so it's during that lunch hour that you know, we like to listen and learn about new advancements in your products, new technologies. You know, a lot of times the products are reactive to new industry standards or codes, for instance.
Right.
You know, a lot of times if there is a new code out there, for instance, in lighting automation, for instance, if you know, the energy code a lot of times affects lighting automation, and we want to understand how your product is reactive to the new codes. And you know, if we specify your product, you know, can we be code compliant with your product? You know, stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you. I think we're about done on time, but I do want to open it up to questions, Jim. Is that all right, from the crowd? Are there any questions? And before we even get into the questions, Jeff, Oliver, you're among peers. People are trying to have the success that you guys have had, both personally as well as professionally out there. Any advice for some of your peers?
I'll go first. I guess it's the yin and the yang of marketing, right? You've got to be analytical. You've got to be a metrics-driven organization. However, you've got to come at it from an emotional standpoint. And it's really, it's that back and forth and finding that right balance. And then once you've got that balance, you've got to be flexible enough to pivot, because every customer is different. Somebody's going to want to go deep dive into the analytics. Other people are going to want to review the case studies. They're going to want to see, you know, have you done this before with another company of our size? If so, what were the outputs? So you got to be ready to fire on all cylinders.
Excellent, thanks, John. Oliver?
Yeah, you know, I think I don't know if you experienced this yourself, but marketing can be kind of a bad word when it comes to engineers. Even our own marketing department sometimes gets fed up with all the marketing messages they receive from other marketing service providers. And what helps me, just something that helps me feel, continue to maintain my enthusiasm and maintain my passion for trying to reach out to engineers, is not to move away from the word marketing and just consider yourself, you're trying to deliver relevant information to engineers at a time that they need you. You want to give them an opportunity to consider you if you are worthy of consideration. And if you think of it that way, then any type of marketing channel is actually fair game as long as you maintain, I guess, you're true to that particular mission. You just want to provide the right information that helps them make the appropriate decision, and you may be part of that decision process. So make sure you give them that opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. It looks like we've got some questions.
Yeah. Thank you. From a very high level for the manufacturers, what does your ideal white paper look like in your decision-making process?
Who are you asking?
The manufacturers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll start. I guess from our side, we don't call them white papers. I haven't used that term for probably 7 or 8 years. So going back to the example of when we used to work with companies like CFE, call them research notes. Not even a research report. Research report sounds kind of long, right? Maybe 20 pages. A research note on a very particular topic was something that you could read at lunchtime, the engineers could peruse, share with friends. So we didn't call them white papers anymore. It's a research note. And what I found to be the best is do those with your media partner that's trusted. Do it on a particular, very particular topic that's both relevant and could be emotional. You know, could have something where targets are tied to it this year, and engineers really need to get involved in this topic. So that's usually our approach.
Other questions? All right. Thank you.
What specific types of files on a website do you look for? Do you download? Do you find important or valuable?
So this is for the engineers?
I'm sorry, for the engineers, like tech sheets, BIM files.
Bill?
Yeah, certainly anything that has numbers on it, and sort of narrowing it down to that. You know, in my mind, the kind of the pinnacle of the download from a manufacturer's website is some type of product selection or analysis tool. So when I go, again, back to my point before, like a proof of concept, I can really kind of go through different iterations and very quickly, you know, put together at least some general scheme on how it's put together, and then again later on follow up with the representative. But you know, analysis and kind of product specific sizing is really important.
All right, I'm getting the hook here. So one last question. Okay, sorry.
So, do you attend trade shows, and if so, what are you looking for at the trade show? What type of communication to you?
Josh,
I go to probably 2 or 3 professional trade shows a year, and I'm looking for the new stuff. I'm looking for technology and innovation that we haven't seen before. And it can be as simple as marketing slicks that we're picking up and taking back. Anything that has to do electronically that we can get a little USB fob or something with your information on it, even better. It's easier to travel with than paperwork after a while. But definitely for me personally, I'm looking for the stuff that I don't know about yet.
All right, Donna, anything to add to it?
No, I definitely agree with. You know, when I go to a trade show, I'm definitely looking for advancements, these products that are new, new technologies. You know, I'm now looking for minutia. I'm looking for specific, you know, the nameplate data. You know, the stuff that you know applies to my designs.
Thank you. So don't forget, they're going to be around for the cocktail reception, hopefully so are you. So you can always ask some additional questions. I'd like to thank, in order, from the end, Josh Greene, thanks for attending. Jeff Kosiorek, of course. Don Freeston, and Bill Kosik, and our pinch hitter, Oliver Wang. Thank you very much, and Jim, for coming back.